This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your live market chat for Tuesday, March 7th, 2023. Let's get into it. A lot of action this morning based on all sorts of things from the Fed speak, PAAS conversations. He's going to be speaking to Congress today. Just a lot of things going on. I want to talk about the volatility because I had a feeling that it might go up and down either way before I could even finish getting this thing going. I had to close some positions, add some positions back. Again, it is a trader's market. If you're struggling with this and you're struggling, it's because you're not adapting and pivoting to the fact that this thing moves a lot. As much as we'd all like it to crash at some point or do what it's got to do to get to the next phase, that's part of trading. I try to warn people this all the time. Time is always the hardest variable. Where we're at within the market, be careful. Just be careful. Again, have your core positions, trade around them, as I say over and over and over. Know your levels, know your levels, know your levels. Yes, know your levels, and know also too that there's going to be games played along the way. Certain stocks you're going to hate, love, whatever, they're going to move in directions that doesn't make sense. And the market's going to do what? Try to take the most amount of money from the most amount of people. Imagine that. That's what it does. So let me get a mic check just to make sure we're good. And yeah, just hopefully people are, I don't know. It's just is what it is. The market is not always easy. However, it's interesting. The March Fed Fund futures are now projecting a 50 basis point rate hike coming up. People say, well, this isn't 2022. This isn't 2022. And they start, yelling and screaming how this is different. It's time to buy. In my opinion, it's worse. It's 2023. What do the Feds have to do? They have to get the rates up. They have to pull liquidity out. They can't let inflation anchor. What does all that mean? Well, if you don't know, they need to slow the economy down. They need to force a recession, and I don't see how the market's going to take well to that over time. Years ending in 3 usually have a spring swoon. Will this be the bottom? I don't know. Again, we talked about it. You're not going to bottom until the VIX, explodes up into at least the 40s or 50s, and then from there, can we, potentially bottom out? That's what I would hope for. Again, we got to take our medicine, and the Feds, the longer they, push this out endlessly, the more that we're just going to play in this choppy, sloppy game. Now, I know a lot of people don't like to hear about the choppy, sloppy game, but that's just the reality of it, right? Look at the VIX. If you're taking shorts on the highs, of whatever you can best. Now, remember, layering in, layering out. Like, do you think you're going to be able to nail the NVIDIA short exactly perfect every time? No. Right? First Solar being extremely frustrating for folks. I get it. Meta kind of laughing here that it went up, down. Again, some idiots are probably buying it today on the announcement that the Senate might try to push a TikTok ban. Either way, it's just you don't know until you bet it. And that's the true thing Livermore said. You think that you know the levels. You can be really good at trading. You can try to identify the exact best points. But in reality, the only time you're only as good as your entry, and again, I tell this to folks all the time, the odds that you're going to nail the entry perfectly, that's better lucky than good, right? If you can get it within cents, a dollar, pretty good. If you can't, just remember, that's just part of trading. You don't know. I mean, I always kind of laugh at people who are just, they sit here and they go, well, I have to be an all or nothing trader. I have to be perfect. I have to do what I have to do. And I'm like looking at Meta, like on the pops. It's like, it went above 189. I have to stop out. Game over. Well, no, it's like, what's your thesis? Right? Buy the rumor, sell the news on this TikTok ban. Because again, do they ultimately ban TikTok? I don't know. I don't think either way. Metaverses, they're cutting prices everywhere. They're firing people. And they try to act like their user base is growing. I don't see it at all. But point being is, it's just a trade. You can be wrong. To me, this is potentially a lower high, just manufactured hype to get this thing to rally, typically. It's what they do, right? Remember Tesla? It's like weeks ago, people just forgot how awesome the stock was, and now it's just dogging. right? Game over candle hit. Sloppy, choppy. Makes another run at the lows. Is it bottomed? No. Again, we've talked about this thing. Same thing. I mean, once the hype is the hype. And once the hype comes out, look out below. Because, again, I don't think this is a bull market at any means. And I know people will start to say, well, here, Dan, look at the SPY. Right? Go look at the SPY. It's making higher highs and higher lows. I don't think anyone would argue that. But when you zoom out, this is where it becomes more obvious to me, right? Like if a bear is, I mean, we had a bigger correction from COVID. Look at the bear markets. They take time, right? They take time, right? I mean, we're barely, how many months? November 2021. Do you think this is all it has in it? Now, again, if the feds lose control, this is what I always have to say, and inflation goes nuts, do we get like the Argentina/Venezuela stock market? That always has to be in the back of your mind. However, I'm in the belief that staying the world's currency is bigger focus to them. Could be wrong here. Just keep that in mind. And again, people are like, well, what happens if that happens? Well, you can always buy the market if you think it's going to go higher because of inflation later. Like massive hyperinflation. But my thinking is that they're going to raise rates. They're going to try to do what they always do. So betting on the end of the world and hyperinflation, will it happen at some point? Probably. But is it this time? I don't know. Again, I personally think the market's hitting the monthly resistance. Long wick from March. A little retest now. February. Little retest now. Should connect the dots to lower prices. How low? Again, I don't know what the lower level is going to be, but we need to see what the VIX does, right? Like, that's what you need to see. We need to see the VIX explode, because if you're not familiar with that process, that's what happens. Capitulation. The VIX explodes, prices go nuts, people end up just dumping endlessly from fear. That's when you know you're at the bottom. And I joke about this as I read FinTwit. Everyone's calling for a bull market. You don't bottom when everyone's calling for a bull market. Just like you don't top when everyone's bearish. Remember that? Remember that thesis? Remember that understanding of the psychology? I mean, if you've been trading gold forever, you know that for a fact. Like, when everyone hates it, it's the time to buy it. And when everyone loves it, you got to be scared crapless. Literally, pooping your pants. Man, look at gold. Speaking of. Did not add dust, but, I'm happy for the other people. Jay Solstice, maybe shorting J-Nug. Some other folks got involved. Love it. Now you look at the SPY. What is this? What is this action? Outside, reversal, whatever, doji. I mean, you can call it so many different things. I guess an outside reversal would mean it have to technically close below this. Just outside doji, chopping, and now look. Left-right combo? Maybe. We've talked about how in the past, even in the downtrends, what would you get? You get these couple days up, and then, right? Couple days up, right? Couple days up, Now, people are, there's a lot of argument here about what's the true next move. And I've said this all the time. I mean, again, if you've been watching, I said this is the novice gap trap. I mean, I'll leave it up here. Remember, think about window dressing. First 3 business days of the month. That was February 2nd. Look at this action. The first, second, and third. Same kind of thing. In my opinion, in time. We will go where? South. Not because I'm long-term, always bearish. It's just a trader's market. I think this was a novice gap trap above the highs of December to get people to do what? To get more bullish. Remember, the first dip gets bought. How strong? I mean, that's... Again, I wish I was around more. End of last week, I was out of town. But hopefully you saw that coming. Try to communicate. Potentially, that's always there. Now, some stocks are acting better than others. Some are not acting well at all. That's just part of the game. Right? Chase. Yeah, folks chasing. Let's look at... remember yesterday, hopefully people got this sign. Screaming this one. Watch the 20 die on the financials. Right? NVIDIA. I mean, anytime it gets up to 238 plus, it's just like... I think it's legitimately a short up here. And now, again, they've got their dividend, right? Ex-div today. Paying a whopping 4 cents. We'll see what happens. SMH. Thought it would get up to 241, 243. Went a little higher. That happens, right? Ended up testing and filling the gap. Meh. Talked about yesterday, if you're paying attention on the Q, said watch for that gap fill. If you took that entry, bellissimo, perfecto. If you were adding shorts, awesome. Posted this on Twitter, posted in the stock twits, posted in the room. Dollar, yeah, someone was just saying it's popping. Yeah, again, I said this is in the recap reason. I think it's just chopping before it goes higher. Again, the Feds are more concerned about the dollar at the moment, in my opinion. Talked about watching like the HYG, right? Here it goes, makes a slightly little higher high. And this thing, corporate debt, is not looking that good. Not looking so hot. Tesla again, just trash, whatever you want to call it. Said yesterday, watch the IWM. Do you remember this? Again, all these things, like watch the market. You cannot have tunnel vision and watch your one stock. What do we say about the IWM? Got up to the 190s, said that was possible. Look what happened. Look at that big red candle all day, just looking like crap. Closed below the previous low. Watch for lagging. Do I need to just pull it over here? Do you need to see it here? I mean, again, I don't know what people have going on in their head. And again, this is what's so hard sometimes is that, and what do we say the hard thing? Trading around position. When the market was dumping for a second, if you took some profits and were like, all right, I'll look to add back, fine. It just depends if you have the ability to do it. And if not, you better have time, because the time variable is the one that's going to screw people over who are trying to short. And hopefully it ends today. Is today always the day that it starts? That's what you're hoping for. But again, if you're putting yourself in a position you have to be forced to win by options with short dated strikes, calendars, guess what? That's going to be a struggle bus, right? Any other questions, thoughts? And now I know a lot of people are like, oh, First Solar, this thing is damn frustrating. Yeah, I get it. Saw some of the C-suite folks selling $12 million worth. We'll see. Again, I don't trust solar. If you've seen this in the past, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Let me pull up the monthly. Again, this is super duper hyped. Super duper hyped. It can come down just as fast as it can go higher. So just keep this on your radar. I mean, there's a lot of names out there, obviously. Meta, Apple. Let's look at the fruit real quick. I mean, all tech, in my opinion. Gets the buddy pass. Literally retests the high of the range. Look at this gap. Gap and trap? That's my guess. So, on that note, any other thoughts, questions, concerns, beliefs, dialogues, insecurities, things they want to just talk about? This is where you can do it. A lot of people who post this stuff in the Discord room, it's an annoyance because it just, now everybody has to see it. But if you have it here, this is the best place to ask. That's why I like the ETFs. They decay, but they will buy good for time, less cost. Yeah, no, I agree. I like inverse ETFs too because they will decay, but hopefully not as much as the move that you're expecting going down. It's not like an option where it's just like burn. Thoughts on the TLT? I mean, there's a huge short in it going on. It dropped open, but now green again. Games or something. Would you watch TLT? Would go on if Fed come? Jordan, if you're paying attention to the spec position in the Treasury market, there's a huge Treasury short. Could it squeeze? Could the market go lower? Deflation and rates go lower? Potentially. I mean, I talked about this candle here, right? Watch this. Is this a professional gap start of the move with volume? Just because it doesn't go everywhere, go in that direction every day. Could it be something similar like this, where it just does it, and then 3 days, then it goes, right? Pops up, chops, then goes. Professional gaps. It's tough to know. Again, I mean, do I want to buy treasuries? Again, I mean, this is the thing too. This whole dynamic of 5%, 4% interest rates, depending on which treasury you're looking at, CDs, all the stuff going higher. Remember, there's always a battle for capital. I always tell this to people. That's why when interest rates are at 0, people buy all stocks. Well, now you start looking at some of the 6-month duration bonds, and they're paying 5%. I don't know about you guys, but 5% for the next 6 months to hang out through all the volatility, starting to sound very logical why people might be buying them. So I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, red has been the leading direction for treasuries, but keep in mind, like, when the market tanks, sometimes the treasuries get bought aggressively, right? So that's where, if you want to, again, I know people were short treasuries. I know people are long treasuries. To me, it's just a battle. I don't want to pick that. I'd rather, again, I'm watching them. And if you know the treasury market here, for example, let me just pull up the monthly. You can remember some of the action. All right, who was just trashing stuff down there? 2008 last time, right? Shweek. Rates went tremendously lower. TLT bought, right? Right? Yeah. Same thing with COVID. So it's tough, man. It's tough to know. I don't know. I mean, again, if you look at the monthly here, do I want to short treasuries, go long treasuries? I mean, I think I'd prefer just to stay on the sidelines. Now, I know what we've talked about. Yes, the treasury trade has been what? The market and treasuries have both gone lower. Right? Market needs to catch up. Tough to know. It is tough to know. We do know that ultimately long term, the government does not want higher interest rates. That's for damn sure. That is for damn sure. With fiscal deficits and all the crap they got going. Shakes. Scheisse. Vacation was good. Did a lot of snowboarding. Thursday and Friday were pretty expensive days to go riding because market rallied back, got knocked out of some stuff. So, yeah, dollar. Yeah, I mean, again, I expect the dollar to go higher. I'm short TLT, but I think it's time to take profit. Yeah, I mean, the easy trade, if you, again, I mean, this is just me. If I was short the TLT, I'd be closing out all of my trades and shorting the market. I mean, it literally gives you a great paired trade to roll into. Take money out of the treasury market, short bond, or take your shorts off bonds, short the market. That to me seems just as logical. Now, how it holds up, how choppy it is. I mean, remember, you do have the big jobs number Friday. We'll see how the market reacts to it. But at this point with the treasuries, yeah, Fed fund futures are going higher. They're expecting a 50 basis point rate hike. But here's the tricky thing. If you're newer to trading, you don't know this. There becomes a certain point when the Fed start raising rates that the market actually yields go down. Because, again, people start going, well, they're going to raise rates to create a what? A recession. If you've never seen this or heard this before, this is what happens. They raise rates too aggressively. It actually pushes the yields. People start buying bonds as they're raising rates because they know on the backside what? Recession's coming, and what happens when yields go down? Bonds prices go up. So they actually can kind of arbitrage it. Not arbitrage, it's just a trade, right? If yields are going down, they become more valuable. The higher a higher yield bond becomes way more valuable. Does that make sense? Any questions on that? Thoughts, concerns? Just in general, when I look at the bond market, I go, well, I see it chopping. So if you are going to trade it long, short, whatever, you better give yourself time because it might not go anywhere till the next Fed meeting. Might not go anywhere till the jobs number. I don't know. Good questions, hard answers. Oil, yikes. Man, this is all over the place. Yeah, oil all over the place. Again, these trades like natural gas. Yeah, I mean, you're betting on geopolitical stuff or... I have this conversation every day. People are like, oh, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? What do you think of this? I'm like, man, I don't really want to play with the material sector. However, I do like Caterpillar. Man, I was really hoping it would get into this gap. All right. X, if you watch the recaps, we talked, I said, whoa, watch this out. Watch out. This is a double top. Look at yesterday's action, professional gap, and look what it's doing. Yeah, there's some big inversions. Yep, in the yields, no doubt. Yield curve inversion certifies recession at some point. Again, here's new core, same thing, like retesting. I don't know if Porsche, Calgary, whatever, is told him like lay off. Again, I think there's better trades, but here he goes at retest. Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. It's just my opinion. What else? Oh, I was watching AA, right? Like aluminum. Whoa, zinger. Remember, steel prices went nuts last week. Are they coming back down? Watching CF. I mean, again, just watching these names. They're not really acting well, and they weren't acting well yesterday, right? Right? Man, somebody's got a lid on PXD at 210. They're not letting it get over there for now. Yeah, just be thoughtful. I mean, it's going to be hard to... It's going to be... I'm not hard. Give yourself time. It really isn't that hard if you're giving yourself time. Like, if you've got April puts and you've got outstanding trade location, yeah, you're probably losing on slippage and time decay, but damn if you're not getting good deals and the VIX is in the 18s. Damn if you're not getting good deals. Right? Oh, but the bull market's coming back on. Okay. All right. That's... How do you know we're closer to the highs, right? Everyone's... And now, again, I guess maybe my FinTwit is all the bullish people, but I'm listening to, like, even... I got... what's those guys' names? On... They're a lot of the fast money hombres, and they're all like, oh, but this is 2023, you got to put money, the market's da-da-da-da-da-da. Dude, they all think the bull market's on because we made a higher low. They're all comparing this to 2010, 2011, where I feel like most of us realize, let me pull this up because I think, again, years ending in 3. Years ending in 3. Remember, if you've seen my notes, years ending in 3, right? They're usually not bullish. But you do have typically an exhaustion in the spring. Could this be it this year? I don't know. But notice I had like 1 leg and 2 leg and 3 legs. Like, if you say 1, 2, and then 3, man, that's not enough. To me, this feels like, maybe that's the first down. This is the second down. You know, if the market's a mechanism of 3s, is this even 1 though? I struggle with this because, again, the Feds have to pull liquidity out. If they're going to do the right things, they have to raise rates, right? Government has to cut spending. There's all these like things. Again, overpriced, keep in mind mortgages are now, mortgage rates up in the 7s. Housing market, it's crazy. I think people don't realize, like, yeah, the housing numbers were good for January because rates went down to 5.5%. And as soon as they went back up, I'm seeing them constantly in Denver. And I think Denver's a pretty good indicator for like the hotter markets. Oh my God, the cut! I'm seeing huge price cuts on the high end. And again, it always starts on the high end, right? So it's tough. It's tough. Very tough to know. I mean, I see a lot of. You see a lot of mixed signals in the economy, right? And so it's. Used prices, car prices are up. I mean, I don't know. People are spending money. The 5,000, was it 5 or 6,000 pound cars or more? You can write them off completely for the year. There's usually that effect going into April. Usually early spring, used car prices rise. I don't know if you know that in the United States there's a tax advantage. You can write off a full year worth of the value of the car for business if it's over 5 or 6,000 pounds, something like that. I got April puts on first of all after that initial earnings pump 190 straight. Obviously underwater now. Any advice? James. I mean, I've got how many have I got? I've got 3 First Solar puts. I am down 64% on them. That is always the possibility. That is always the possibility with what options? They can be total loss. So unless you hopefully did not your whole account into them. If you did, I don't know what to say. Sorry to hear that. Again, I mean, you're going to be wrong. I'm going to be wrong. Again, take the personal out of it, and either you take the loss and move it into other options, or you give up and you move it into other things. Again, if it bothers you, again, it doesn't bother me because I look at First Solar, I go, I define my risk. I've got still some shares I'm not super concerned about. I mean, the market at some point will correct. It just is what it is. It's really hard to be perfect. Now, again, how do you know First Solar is going to get 17 upgrades and pump like that? You just don't. So either your risk management has to be defined, or you know exactly what you're going to do. I mean, when I say you know exactly what you're going to do, it's like, all right, if it gets to this, again, I mean, for me, I told you guys, like being on vacation Thursday, Friday was pretty expensive for the stuff that I wasn't able to manage. Now I just got to roll with it. Well, luckily, I have time. That was part of just checking out. It happens. But hopefully my Tesla, Apple, Soxys stuff, hopefully Meta will come back down at some point. First Solar as well, come back down, right? Got the FAS short. I mean, it just is what it is. Again, I don't have a price target on First Solar. I really don't. The upside. I mean, I like any of it up. I mean, it's just, again, it's getting the pump, right? It breaks out of its channel. You got the wick. I mean, CEO, I mean, C-suite guys are selling shares. I mean, it's tough to know. Again, I've been adding to things that have been a little easier, but I'm underwater on First Solar. And here's the one thing that you either have to do, and this is me making a mistake, and you just do what you got to do. If I'm down in a position, I don't just sit there and say, again, mistake. This is what I did do and shouldn't do. I shouldn't hold it. I should take it and then reevaluate and look for a better entry. If I give myself time and I look at that as a rational excuse to hold it, I'm not going to continue to add either. Right? Like it's a loser, right? At this point, it's a loser. Well, I'll wait. Now I'm going to be super patient. Extremely patient. I hope that makes sense because I need to see that it's even correct. I mean, technically you might say, well, it's making higher highs and higher lows. Yeah, maybe you get the 215 to I don't know. But I mean, I'm lucky with some April puts and a few hundred shares that I'm not like dying about. But I understand what you're thinking, like, hey, where should I add more? And that's where it's like, all right, well, I'll just look at other trades until this one confirms, or hopefully this gets back to even. And then at some point, when it does confirm, when the pivot point is confirmed 100%, then I can add. It's hard to know. It is absolutely hard to know for sure. Because this thing has a mind of its own. We've talked about First Solar is one of those things where it just plays games. It plays games, you know? And if you got shorts, yeah, and financial semis and other things, yeah. Trade those, watch this. I would love to say today's the high, right? Like, it's turnaround Tuesday. It's Tuesday. After a huge pump, after a huge first of the month pump, upgrades, just endless stupidity in this thing. Oil getting smoked. We'll see if that sustains. Natural gas, just a joke. But again, the market isn't always logical. That's what is so damn hard. So I hope that helps. I just wish I knew, man. Yeah, I agree. You got to let it evolve. You got to let it evolve. Got to let it evolve. And that's a good point. Any other questions about any other stocks at the moment? I mean, there's Apple. We talked about that one being a buddy pass retest. Like, Apple is much easier because you're getting the retest, right? Meta, you know, anytime you get near 190, like, that's easy. Nvidia chopping up in the 238 plus, like, that feels likely to fail. Like, SMH popping and failing. Financials, XLF getting over 36 plus, you know, fail. I mean, just Tesla hasn't popped. That one's been easy. Just nothing really to do on it other than trade around it and play with it if you want. So, anyway, yeah, thoughts, questions, concerns. Here are pictures. I don't see any pictures. Okay. Thoughts, questions? Any questions? Any questions? What do you think about the best loser book and letting winners play out versus taking profits along the way? I read that book over my vacation. I thought it was interesting. The problem is when you have a VIX that is low like this, shorting can be choppy. That can be pretty difficult, right? In the sense you don't get the follow through. So, if you have your levels, then yes, you got to be, that's a great question. You got to be patient. But at this point, I think a lot of people just don't know how to, you can swing trade. I know you can, Bam. Other people just can't. They just can't sit there patient. So, what's the right answer about letting winners play out? Yeah, Tesla, let that run, right? Hopefully NVIDIA, this is the top of it. SMH looks good. Apple, that was a retest. Financials, right? So, just kind of is what it is. It's tough to know. Yeah. I'm trying to think of how to sound what's the best way to describe this. I know people listen to this, they take every word for sure, and that's, again, Tesla. So First Solar, and this is why I love having this example. It running up, it's hard to really get aggressive, you can get stopped out, add a little bit in the 200s, and then it's screw this. Right? Bob, no, I don't agree with that at all. Because again, yes, everyone will dump on the pivot or the halt in interest rates, but I also do believe the market is not discounting a lot of mechanisms within the market that inflation, the Feds have to raise rates, in my opinion, much higher. And that Fed pivot might not be till later this year. We're talking 2024, potentially. Because in my opinion, the biggest problem right now is inflation anchoring in. They don't want to see the CPI anchor in the 6s and 7s, 5s, whatever it's going to be. That's way too high, because then that means their interest rates are still low. Think about every time inflation and CPI, to kill it, you have to get interest rates higher than that actual CPI rate. I think 8 out of the 8 last times, that's what they had to do to kill inflation. Well, their current Fed fund futures price is not higher than the CPI. They're way behind. So that's where I think, yes, you need to get the peak out. And then what? The Feds pivot later? Yeah, we'll see. I just don't think we're anywhere close to that, the Feds pivoting or halt. I don't think that's again, so it's going to be a trader's market until then. And that's where the stupid, and again, I'm not saying you're stupid, but the stupid narrative that they're going to pivot or halt interest rate hikes anytime soon, hence why the market will rally into that. Again, I don't believe that. Because I think the market still has to do what? They still got to pull the liquidity out. They got to continue to raise rates. They got to get in front of this. But that's what and that's where I think it might be choppy. And maybe, yes, you do get the big wipeout, the big kahuna wave when they do that. But the yield curve inversion, the recession is, imminent in the months that come. Right? That's what's so hard here is the timing, the ultimate timing. I got folks who are talking about putting all the retirement funds back in because, again, even some of my wife's stuff that I have from the past, there's really nothing you can put it in that really, I hate the Target ETFs, and the only thing you can put it in is cash. And they're just well, I'm sitting here, I'm just getting hemorrhage. What do I buy? I guess you can buy bonds if you really want to. But in my opinion, I don't really think there's much safety other than the yields that are guaranteed from treasuries. But people really want to put the risk back on. And that's the thing. People, love to critique, what's going on. But think about like from the sentiment perspective of everything, right? Like people are like, oh, the market bottomed last week. How do you bottom when everyone's bullish? Do you guys remember the previous bottoms? Those previous bottoms were no way in hell this is the bottom. No way in hell the economy is going to be fine. No way in hell this is a bull market. We're not even close to that, in my opinion, from sentiment, right? Like we got the sentiments up in the fear, greed up in the 60s and 70s. So to say like this is the bottom, I mean, it's like, again, I mean, I don't know what people's opinions are fully, but I mean, it's really hard to look at the VIX in the 19 level. What is it? Right? Where is the VIX on my trade sheet? All of a sudden I want to delete. That's interesting. Let me add it back. But this is always delayed on Q charts. Again, you can pay for up to date on all futures, but it's, to me, I don't need to. I can just watch it. Give me 2 seconds. Let me add it back. I mean, what's the VIX right now? Oh, sorry, 1893. That's not a bottom. That's not a bottom. Yeah, exactly. There's at least 3 more rate hikes. You go look at the Fed fund futures, and there's talking. Again, that's why it's way too early. Thank you, Mike M. Calorian. I agree. Way too early to talk about, the market will rally until the Fed pivots. Well, they're still raising rates. And I'm with you. I think they're going to have to continue raising rates for the next couple of meetings. I mean, they kept rates way too low for way too long. Do they have to overshoot? That's the big question. And again, who knows for sure? And we'll just try to follow the trading in the charts, but damn if this isn't a good base. And the longer that we base out here, the more aggressively short I want to be, actually. Right? Like, I want to be more short the more longer this thing holds down here, because I think it's kind of like it's compressing, right? It's probably killing all those, day trading, zero time puts, calls, whatever. Y'all agree, right? ODT, whatever. Can't believe people. I just can't. It's so funny. The market has this unlimited liquidity now. I think, did someone say like $1 trillion worth of like out of the money daily puts blew out last week? I mean, I read that. I don't know how to confirm any of that, but I was like, holy crap. Who's got trillions of dollars, $1 trillion to blow out, or hundreds of millions of dollars to buy short-dated puts at the lows? Doesn't sound like smart money. Yeah, exactly. For a real hard bottom, and again, and this is the thing, for me to like comfortably tell people for the long term, hey, the bear market is over, I think you have to be at points where, again, your Uber driver, your hairstylist, your neighbor, the guys I play basketball, for example, just the people in your daily life who are still going, oh, I'm buying calls on DraftKings. I still think I'm buying Bed Bath & Beyond. I'm still playing Coinbase. Those people got to go away. Those people will disappear. Because that's how a bear market ends, right? Like the bear market ends when nobody wants to invest anymore. They're just so tired of it. And that's the hardest thing about bear markets, right? Is they chop, then boom! The last leg is kapow. Kelly Kapowski, kapow. I don't think we're there yet, right? And again, we can all like argue about interest rates and Fed policy and all this kind of crap, but let's like bottom line it to like the real bottom line. And we haven't hit that. And we don't know when we're going to hit that, right? It's really hard to know. Yeah. I mean, I agree, Bob. I mean, it's going to be a slog. That's my biggest concern for folks who just don't survive this and don't trade around their positions and who stay bearish the whole time or stay bullish the whole time. It's just not going to be that easy. It'll only be easy on the last leg, right? In the first couple, like the first 2 legs coming off the high, those were pretty easy. Last 6 months, man, if you're just surviving, thriving, getting through this, I mean, I guess since October, you're doing better than everyone else. Choppy, floppy, yeah, exactly. Choppy, sloppy, floppy, all sorts of crappy action, frustrating action. I get it. You know what? So and again, I don't know how many people are paying attention now, and I would keep an eye on Meta for the rest of the day. Honestly, that's my idea here, because Meta is probably, I mean, First Solar obviously is one of the last ones holding up, but I think First Solar doesn't have a news event. Watch what happens to Meta today when the Senate comes out and if they pass the bill to ban TikTok or not. Now, again, I don't know if, I mean, you know, YouTube, I know you're listening, but I think China's got their, you know, got a vice grip on the Bidens. Do you think they'll really let TikTok be banned? Now, maybe it could be banned in Congress and on their phones. That's fine. That makes sense. But a national ban? Whew. I don't know about that. I don't know. Either way, be thoughtful. Watch things like that, because again, you know, Tesla's crap. Nvidia, pop, flop, chop. Never easy. I mean, it does feel easy, though. This might be the day. Again, these are all things I take note of and have learned from seeing this for 20 years. Like, there's not an easy answer. There's not 100% certainty. Sometimes stocks held up for, you know, ex-dividend dates. We know that, right? Right? They can be held up. The choppy, sloppy action. You know, what is the news? What are the catalysts, right? What are the temporary things coming down the pipeline that you need to be paying attention to? Because right now, if this is what I think it is, isn't this a Powell where the Powell speaker has to speak to Congress for 2 days? He goes to the House one day and the Senate. I don't know how that, again, if I'm a congressional member, I'm like, you're raising rates, aren't you? Now, a lot of them are screaming, oh, our fiscal deficit, yeah. Got it. I'd be like, you guys got to get inflation under control. And I would scream, housing inflation, car inflation, food prices, bacon, chicken, eggs, gas, whatever you want to like scream about. I'd be like, you guys got to get this under wrap, y'all, or we're all losing it. Yeah, it's yeah, here you go. Think today on NVIDIA. So, man, is this this thing loves to chop, make a slightly higher high and then fail. Is this the chop, slightly higher high yesterday and fail? Yes, gotta hold the stock for that 4 damn cents. I need that almost nickel. Need it. It's too funny. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? Try to, again, I think the hardest thing for people is, like, I can see their frustration in the Discord room, and we've all lived it, and the people who have gone through this, like, they get really hopeful, and what the market loves to do is create hope or despair, the opposite, before it does what you think it's going to do. I've been there. I feel like endless amounts of times. How many times have you been in a trade? You're like, I know this is going to work. You're like, it's going to work. It goes in your favor. It flips you just enough, confusing with data-wise, that price action that you give up right before it starts. Remember, that's what we talk about. Picking tops and bottoms are hard. You can do it, but you have to remember the first top, first bottom typically has a retest. That's why these V believers, I feel like I'm like True Blood. You got the V. Those folks find their emotions kind of rallied around, right? They get kind of squibbed around. NVIDIA, this one is playing with investors. I don't think NVIDIA is playing with investors at all. I think it's distributive. Look at the hourly. They've had unlimited potential to unload up here. Just unload. We'll see what happens. It's just, again, I mean, the AI hype, right? So you went from AI hype to Apple upgrades to Meta congressional help to what? Solar's the future again. I mean, you see how, like, these are the narratives that you see at the highs, right? These aren't narratives at the lows, right? The endless giddiness, pumpiness, happiness. And again, this is where, if Scott here, Eric, a few of you guys, there is an art to trading. And if you don't understand that, and you think it's all technical all the time, this is where you start going, all right, you have to surrender to the market makers, their art of what they do. They are amazing at tricking the shit out of you and getting you to do the wrong things at the wrong time. Getting you to believe that something's going to hold up and go higher. Getting you to believe that something's going to go much lower and it's the end of the world. Right? I mean, I love talking about gold. Right? Said, it's probably going to bounce. All right, now it's coming back down. That gap, danger. We'll see. We'll see. I mean, if the Feds are pivoting, wouldn't gold bottom? We'll see. I mean, gold's action doesn't look like a Fed pivot to me. How's silver looking, right? Oh! Not good. If you bought dust, remember I said I'm riding this sucker out. Look at that. Master psychologist. Again, I mean, I think the algorithms, the systems are meant, I mean, they know, like, psychology has to be a variable that's in there that's not manipulated, but meant to, scare you, me, and everybody here. That's why there's always going to be an art to this, and I don't give a and I'm not going to curse. I don't want to, but there's going to be a part of this that you just can't, I don't know how to tell you, like, you can't know for sure. And you have to just trust this is what's going on here based on what's going on in the markets. At highs, everybody's excited. If people are bearish, then it's not the highs. At lows, if everybody's bullish, it's not the bottom. Gold, a great example. Oh, Matt, awesome buying opportunities. Going to the moon. Got to buy gold. Got to buy silver. Does anyone remember why we bought down here? Because it was like everybody hates it. Everybody hated gold. I'm like, yeah, I guess it makes sense. It's probably bottomed. I mean, it made a little lower low. Rally back, was like, professional gap gone. Now we talked about the professional gap at the highs. Game over. Downtrend. Oh, but everyone's bullish gold at the lows. That's not the bottom. How do you know where the bottom's going to be, Dan? Probably some part technical, some part range bound, some part support resistance levels, VAP zones. When? Feds pivoting. Are the Feds pivoting? No. They're accelerating the rate hikes. Is that clear? Any confusion here? I'm trying to make this clear for folks. It's just, you have to continuously, again, write in your journal, write down what is important and pay attention to it. Because I can't sit here and get bullish when the fear and greed indicators get up into the 70s. We pull back 5% on the SPY. Woohoo! Hits the 200. And again, I wish I was around more, but it's almost like a manufacturer. Everyone was talking about it. Back test the primary trend line, 200-day rally. Everybody's bullish. Bullshit. I'm sorry. No, everybody be like, no. We're definitely not going higher. Then I would believe it could rally higher. We talked about, and again, I said this in the previous, earlier in the video. You get these like little mini blips up before you go lower. Mini blips up, right? In a down move, right? And again, coming off the highs, the first high, I said, watch the fucking 20-day. I'm just sorry. I'm not mad at people listening. I'm just mad because I get this question like 1,000 times. What now, Dan? Watch the 20-day curling down. Again, the people don't watch the recaps and ask me questions. They're like, help. Throw me a lifeline. I'm like, I'm trying to, but I can't do it for 500 people. You got to do the damn work yourself. Now look. Is this a left-right combo? With cheese. We'll see. Yeah, the dollar's not carrying at all. But we talked about the dollar's probably basing to go higher, right? Feds are going to be raising rates. Here's your confirmation, right? Dollar going higher. Makes sense. And then all this confusion. How many times, again, raise your hand, leave a comment. How many times did you hear that last week that the dollar was going lower, hence the market going higher? I was listening to Josh Brown just say this over and over and over and over again. I'm like, what, the dollar isn't dropping. It's just chopping. Playa. Play on, playa. We'll see. We'll see. It just kind of boggles my mind. Again, I don't know if he's been sold out. He used to be pretty smart, but some of these people are like tools of the market maker. They're just telling you the wrong things. They get on TV and they scream, do this, do that, do this. Man, oil flopping like a fish. Low of the day. Maybe again. And if you are short the bond market, be careful. Please, ten cuidado. James Brown. Josh Brown. He's a CNBC guy. Now he's got his own stuff. I always see his stuff on Twitter and Facebook. He's saying, he's screaming that the bear market's over. Interest rates are peaking. The dollar's peaking. It's been he's like years ending, and on average there's only one down year and a bull bear market, yada yada. And again, no one's gonna argue with what he's saying, but it's only freaking March. Usually a bear market capitulation, then rally. Have we seen a bear market capitulation in 2023? Absolutely not. No. Yep. Party talk stocks. Yep. Sorry, just ranting, because again, I get so much crap. People, and it's not like people intentionally feed it. I'm like, choose your sources wisely. Mine is my journal. That is in my journal, these things. I don't go to the source. It's like somebody was, I'm like in the water room. I'm like, did you guys see that Capitol Hill Quanon shaman was escorted into the Senate? They released more footage of the January 6th day. And again, I don't care about politics in that sense, but I'm like, again, here's the media portraying one thing. They literally had a freaking hearing, trials. The guy's in jail. The guy took the bullet for what? Getting escorted by the feds. I mean, again, my point is it relays back to the markets. You're taking your information from folks that have no intention of being honest or trying to help you out. The goal is to trick the most amount of people from the most amount of money from them. Yet people are like, oh, I read the news on CNBC and stop watching that crap. I'm telling you, it is so destructive. It is so damn destructive to your mental state of being. It's, they're saying, you're some of the 5 people you're surrounded by, the 5 people you spend the most of the time with, who you are. Well, in your trading lifestyle, your trading surrounding, if you're spending hours watching CNBC, Fox Business News, reading these articles, that's the people you're surrounding yourself with. So it's hard not to be confused, right? You're getting mixed messages probably daily, weekly, monthly. So cut that crap out. But people won't. They need to be plugged in. It's like unplugged, blue pill, red pill, whatever, like the Matrix. Trading's hard as is. Do you want to be fed by the computers that want to take your money? Or you want to realize there's part art, part, technical analysis, part repeating patterns, part seasonality, part year ending and repeating pattern, all these things? Or do you want to plug into the Matrix and let them try to feed you what you need to do? Because you're going to lose. You're going to lose. It's just sad to say. Give me a second. I feel like Pal's speaking. Okay, now you had the new 3-year auction bid to cover yields of 4.07. Okay, there's the results. New supply coming on. Yep. Wow, man, Nordic. That's crazy. I'm just kind of looking at the news. Notable movers. Yeah, I mean, a lot of down stocks. Dow, DuPont, IP, Martin, Marietta's flat. Yeah, a lot of material names. Freeport down 4.5%. It looks very obvious to me. We'll see if it sustains that. The risk on. Remember, I was trying to tell you guys, like, watch some of the, like, copper and steel names. Like, look what they're. Oh, I said like again. This is not good. Right? U.S. Steel. Rolling over. Right? What's another one? Man, Southern Copper. Yeah, Nucor. All got back to the highs. We'll see what happens. Gold, obviously. Silver, obviously. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns? If not, I'll wrap it up. I mean, yeah, X. I mean, that Q filling that gap, long wick. This is why I was telling yesterday, like, beware of the wicks. Yeah, you may have said, all right, short 300. And then I'm like, well, watch the gap now. Watch the gap now. And this is from experience. Because, again, I said this to start the video. The odds that you're going to nail the top and the bottom perfectly are what? They're not that high, y'all. They're not that high. You're just hoping to be close. You're just hoping, wishing, desiring to be close. That's all you can really do. If you think you're going to somehow nail the entries all the time, you are a buffoon. I would be a buffoon to tell you that. That's just not how it works. Unless you can sit around and go, all right, I'm watching the 10-minute. Let's see if we could have identified the 10-minute yesterday pivot. Just curious. I'll end it there. No, I mean, there wasn't even really that much volume. It just, here is the engulfing bar. Chop, chop, chop. First dip gets bought, then burn. That's all it is, but it wasn't like a high volume blow off. That's extremely difficult because if you looked at this, you didn't see a blow off with volume. You see this on the Qs yesterday? All it was is literally what the typical pattern I tell you. You go up, you engulf down, you get the first dip gets bought, then fail, right? Look at today's action, right? Bounce back. All right, we'll see what happens here. I mean, intraday, you could argue this is like left-right shoulder-ish. And the right shoulder has bigger volume, which is good. Remember, big volume on the right shoulder confirmed the market makers are unloading. I think we're good. I think we're good. Good. You're good. You're good, Jerry. I think we're good. It's just trade around your damn positions. I'm telling you, until the VIX explodes, the goal is to have your core when everything implodes. Do you want to have more? Obviously, yes. Would you like to be all in? Absolutely. Will you always be all in when it's the best time? No, I've talked about that. Look at me missing dust. Oh no, but I'm not chasing. But I got a core position I'm very comfortable with. Does this make sense? Like, the goal is to have your core and you trade around those other positions. Now, we talk about be careful over trading, right? But that's part of it. Right? Like, if you see the VIX not exploding, you see the market chopping. If you have say you have 500 shares in NVIDIA, and your goal is to hold 250 through down, and it dropped maybe 100 points, which would be $25,000. Well, what if you traded around the other 250 and made 20, 30, 40 points here and there? And then, God forbid, if you're wrong, it buffers you out so that your loss is small. I hope that makes sense. Trading's hard. You got if you're into trade, and this is why 95. And I'll end it. 95% of people are going to fail. If you're thinking you're doing this to get rich and be incredibly lucky, all right, that's part of it. That's going to happen. But when it's hard, and there's just nothing you can do about it. So keep that in mind. Oh, yeah, there's some good buying ops. I mean, that's trading for you, right? Like, I wish I would have stopped out more last Thursday and Friday, but I wasn't in front of my computer. I put some stuff in, and I'm looking at my computer, I'm looking at my phone, like, everything's great, and then all of a sudden, one of the Fed speakers talks in the afternoon while I'm on the ski hill, and it's like, oh, you son of a bitch. What did he say? Oh, we might have to curtail raising rates near term. Short, or whatever, not near term, but in time. We might be getting close to our terminal rate hike. And then it's like Powell saying the exact opposite today. It's absolute crap. That's what I was trying to explain to people. Like, be careful of those little blip ups, right? Those little blips, the fail. Because you can see, let me pull up the hourly on the Qs. Yeah, totally. I mean, that's what the market does. That's why I was always trying to explain to people, like, this is why all or nothing trading and all being always in, you don't know when the market's going to throw a curveball, right? Like, that happens a ton. I mean, if that ain't distributive, I don't know what the hell is. Yeah, lower highs, lower lows. Right? You base, chop, rally back, squeeze up. Bounce. This is where, again, in the trend, you gotta, you know what I mean? You gotta know to take a little off here, add a little here, take a little off. And your goal is to ride the core through the big moves. Just keep that in mind. The core through the big moves. Obviously, you want to be all in if you could and catch it. Like, that's the goal, would be like in a perfect world. But what are the odds that you're going to do that every time? Again, if you do this long enough, you swing trade long enough, you're going to realize that's not the case, because usually what happens, the last move down is after a topish, choppish down move, multiple legs. And so you hope that you have it all. But again, here's the key. If you nail the top and you don't trade around it, you kind of want to go snowboarding or skiing every day until it happens. Watching the market's going to make you act, makes me want to act, makes me want to trade around my position. So just keep that in mind. If you can take the variable out, I mean, it'd be like talking and looking at the market and going, well, shiitake mushrooms. If you'd have shorted this yesterday and you disappeared for a couple weeks, is it probably going to be down? Yeah. It's the same thing of like with gold and dust, right? Talked about like, hey, I'd like to buy more dust around 14, low 14s. Disappear, boom, it'll be back at 16. Well, that was pretty damn quick. Yeah, you're welcome. Because again, this is what the hardest part is the psychology of this, the wisdom of like understanding. Like, I have been caught, I have been overshort, I have not traded around a position, I have put myself in a position where something had to happen immediately, and it didn't. How many times? Endless amount of times. So I'm like familiar with that, and I don't get super up and down about it. And that, you know, Powell speaks, the market drops a little bit, I'm like, all right, take a little profit. All right, bounces back, add it right back. Just trading around it, partial, not all or nothing trading, because that's what's going to destroy people or be real frustrating, is that they're going to do what? They're going to take off all their shorts right before the market dumps. Like, the market's going to know how to do that. How does it do it? I don't know. Every time's a little different, but that's usually what they do. All right. I appreciate everybody. Thank you for the love, support. Again, if you're doing well, please pay yourself. Plan on paying taxes. Treat your family. Save some money. Maybe gold and silver, inflation. You know it's coming. Buy, again, real estate, in my mind, is the best hedge, because you're going to get income from it if you buy correctly. I know higher interest rates might seem detrimental, but you're going to be able to get some damn deals. Maybe you can assume some people's mortgages. Maybe you can do some creative financing. Again, there's lots of opportunity out there. But again, if you're just sitting in cash and you're not investing it, and you're not paying you're not finding passive incomes, man, you're stuck in the rat race, y'all. So, all right, keep an eye on things. Again, NVIDIA chopping around. I think you can add back in this area. SMH, clearly, 240 area needs to be smoked out, crushed. Tesla, I mean, it just seems dead. Apple, it ain't going anywhere. Meta, watch what happens when the news comes out, TikTok ban or not. Financials look like absolute dog crap. Good, very good, very nice. Caterpillar, if you want to short some of these material names, it makes sense now. They're starting to roll over. I'm trying to think, like Netflix, man, that thing. Here's an example again of missing the ride because of over trading. Look at this thing. Sorry, I'm into here. Waiting for the bounce that never came, right? Shorted real good. Took it off. Didn't even bounce. That's the problem here. Not all stocks are equal. Watch First Solar too. I don't think, some people are saying it's getting to 220. I don't think it's going to be able to get there if the market's not churning higher. Watch gold. Gold's tanking. Watch the dollar to continue higher. Watch the bond market. Remember, there's a huge short out there. So pick your positioning well in there. I'm trying to think of anything else. Taiwan Semi looks Again, it breaks this 88, 89 area, kapow. Yeah, everything looks good for shorts. It's just someone ring the bell when it starts, right? When the VIX wakes up. It's over 19. Woohoo! All right, talk to y'all later.